I was feeling for him.
Oh, yes.
I felt so.
What a tough situation there for him and for the team.
Right. But we're very proud of them, and they did a great job. And to get as far as they did wonderful. So another great opportunity for Indiana to be showcased, correct?
That's right. And like they led by example last night, we don't give up, we don't give in, we give it our all to the very end.
I love that. Very good. Very good. All right, let's jump in and talk a little bit.
Sounds like a great campaign slogan.
Should be a t-shirt. That's what I was thinking. All right, real quick, we do need to thank our sponsors this morning. Sorry, let's jump in real quick.
All right, let's thank Meadowview Healthcare, Walmart, Salem Crossing, Americans for Prosperity, Mama Roses, Fox Perley Wealth Management, Dr. Black's Eye Associates, Dr. Minigun, Marshall Monuments, McAllister Land Consulting, First Harrison Bank, the Louisville Bats, Schneck Hospital, Springs Valley Bank and Trust, and Temple and Temple.
All right. Thank you to our great sponsors. I do want to say we're going to have another hot one today. Don't forget the heat is on here in Indiana, so please be careful. Remember, plenty of water, plenty of sunscreen, and just take breaks every so often. All right, let's jump in and see. Let's talk about a little bit, maybe if some people may be a little bit, well, first of all, I'd like to hear your background, Elise. Let's go ahead and jump right in with that.
Certainly. So I'm a wife and a mom of 4 and have been in real estate investment now for over 20 years, which has just been a great business for my husband and me and given us a good deal of flexibility, and have been able to serve in public office. Starting in 2017, I served on the Boone County Council. Boone County is northwest of Indianapolis between Indy and Lafayette. And that was just a fantastic opportunity to be on the fiscal side of the decisions for our county. And it was a real honor. Also, it was neat because I was following in the footsteps of my great-great-grandfather who served as the Boone County auditor. His term started in 1906. And my great-grandfather, who was the Boone County clerk in the 30s and 40s. So to be serving in the county as they did many decades ago was just a real thrill and privilege. So we got a lot of good work done, and then also became the president of the Boone County Council, as well as the president of the Indiana County Councils Association. So was active on the state level as far as bringing the training resources, legislative updates, best practices to county council members across the state.
All right. And comptrollers, you were actually in office. And for those that maybe are not familiar, I think was it 23 or 22 that it actually changed from state auditor to comptroller because of all of the extra things you do.
That is correct. In this constitutional office, which was given the name of Auditor of State, we do not audit. That is the function of the State Board of Accounts. So the legislature felt it was appropriate and helpful to change the name to a title that better fits the duties of the office. So our duties include performing the accounting and the reporting of all of the state's funds. We handle payroll, pay the state's bills, and we distribute the taxes that are collected on behalf of local units. So we're talking counties, cities, towns, and school districts out to those units so that those tax dollars can get to work for Hoosiers.
You sound like you like numbers. So going back, yeah. I mean, I was like, what was your favorite subject growing up? Was it anything to do with numbers at all?
Yes, and it's figuring out how to win through those numbers. And I tell you what, Indiana is winning through our numbers. We are a turnaround state. You know, if you remember back 20 years ago, we had a great amount of debt as a state, and we had cash flow problems. In fact, the lady who was serving in my office, Connie Nash, she had the horrible job of having to go around and tell some of the units, you know, we don't have the tax revenues that are due to you available. So if you need some cash, go to your local bank, take out a loan, and we'll get the money to you when we can. And that is just a horrible way, no fault of her own. Mm-hmm. That was just a situation of the finances for the state back then. And but it is a far different story now, because a man by the name of Mitch Daniels came along, and he was known as the Blade out in D.C. as the director of Office of Management and Budget under President Bush, and then he came back to Indiana and served in that same function. And he was Indiana Doge before anybody had a clue what that term meant. And he led the charge to make tough cuts that put us on a trajectory. And every governor since and legislature has followed through to make sure that Indiana is in a rock solid fiscal position. So here we are now enjoying being the fourth lowest debt per capita state in the nation, which again is something to truly celebrate. It is good to be a Hoosier. In addition to that, we have healthy cash reserves. We have a balanced budget and a balanced budget amendment put into our Constitution in 2018. We have well-funded pensions, and we have now earned a AAA credit rating from all three rating agencies.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
So are you helping out with the federal Doge as well, or do you just stick with Indiana specific?
Well, I think the federal Doge is an inspiration to us all. And so we are engaged here in Indiana in our own efforts to cut waste, fraud, and abuse. And what we're doing through the state comptroller's office is, with an administration change in the governor, there's a lot of new public servants that have come on board. And so we are preparing a training for them in a month or so, along with the Department of Administration, to share with them the tools that they have available to pull queries and reports, to get a deep look into the finances and the history of their departments and agencies so that they can identify areas where, there's inefficiencies here, we can cut here, we can streamline here. And so we are very much looking forward to providing that training and empowering them to have the numbers at hand that tell the story so that they can make the best decisions for their areas of service. We've also been busy implementing advanced systems for financial reporting, for accounts payable and timekeeping to, again, fight waste, fraud, and abuse and make Indiana government more efficient and a better service to taxpayers.
And did you say that was going to be available to each county, or did you say that was the state level?
So what we are doing to help counties is we are leaning into artificial intelligence and how is a tool that can help us enhance our efficiencies. And we are taking the lead. We're doing an RFI for what it would look like to incorporate that advanced technology in our accounts payable division. And we have been sharing with counties that we're working on this. And what we learn from this after the implementation, we will be sharing with counties, because AI is a new frontier, and there are certain concerns with it. Mm-hmm. And we as a state have set forth guidelines, parameters to keep us in a space where AI can serve us well and not be a threat to our data and the security of it. So through this process, we are going to be, as I mentioned, sharing with counties the successes that we gain and paving the way for them to consider using AI in the auditor's office in particular for accounts payable, much as we are in the process of investigating and incorporating that new technology to serve us well.
That's really cool.
Well, I feel like you're always staying in front of it. Don't you feel that? And that's important, because now you're talking about it, the budget and keeping it, keeping it up and keeping it, intact.
Innovating it.
Yeah. But also there's that, what are we going to do for tomorrow?
That's absolutely right. And we've gone to several trainings as far as where this technology has been incorporated into accounts payable processes, and it's incredible what this technology can do as far as the labor that goes into keying in information. It can auto-populate, and then our incredible staff can use their emotional intelligence, their critical thinking skills to review the abnormalities that AI finds and be more efficient in, again, looking for things that aren't quite right and getting to the core of any problems with more immediacy, and that's a good thing.
And jumping right in, when you took this office, do you love every day? I mean, I'm sure you have your days, but I'm saying, is this something that you're excited about seeing, the turnaround and the progress that you're making and want to keep on going and striving for that?
Absolutely. Being a chief financial officer in a state like Indiana that has its fiscal house in order is a privilege. And to be able to share what we talked about earlier about the strength of Indiana's fiscal position, it's just an opportunity to share good news and then to keep the pressure on. It's absolutely critical when we found out the news that Indiana was expecting $2.4 billion less in revenue. What do you do with that?
Right.
Well, we were out there sharing the message. All right, we got to make sure we keep the cash reserves at a healthy level, 10% minimum, because between 10 and 15%, that's the optimum level to retain our AAA credit rating, which is very important because that translates into lower financing costs. So we just are working to, make sure that we keep the first things first. And thank you to the legislature that did make that a priority. And of course, they are obligated to pass a balanced budget, which that is absolutely foundational to financial responsibility. And if I may take this moment to pivot to our federal government.
Yes.
And we as a state have a great amount of concern about the looming financial crisis that debt will bring upon us if we don't address it. Under $36 trillion of a burden, that is massive. And it is mathematically guaranteed that we will face a day of reckoning, and that day would be extremely painful. And so as state financial officers, we are very active on this front. And that's one of the things I'm really looking forward to sharing more with you this morning about our efforts on that end.
All right. And so I guess what do you do? Because if you feel like, as a state, you're keeping it under control, and then but federally it's a little bit how much control can you have of that, I guess?
When I came aboard as state comptroller about a year and a half ago, I called our association of folks like me and asked, all right, what are we doing to hold the federal government accountable to address the debt and the malpractice of deficit spending? Because, as the state of Indiana, as hard as we work to be financially responsible, we are vulnerable to the rapidly dissolving fiscal position of our country. We are all vulnerable as the states. And they got back to me and said, well, we haven't done anything on that front. What would you propose? And I pitched doing a national debt crisis task force of state financial officers. I felt like we could have a real poignant voice speaking on behalf of the states and their financial positions to hold the federal government accountable and to support, to build a massive amount of support, best we could do, to get behind Congress and President Trump to restore the country's fiscal solvency. And we got the go-ahead, and they asked if I would chair that effort. So we've been busy doing that for just over a year. And we are working every day to build huge support for Congress and President Trump. In President Trump's language, he is the one to make America's finances great again, to set us on a trajectory of where could we be in 2035, 45, 55, to get the debt to GDP ratio down to a manageable level. It's never been this high at over 100%, except for right after World War II, when we had defeated the Nazis in Imperial Japan. And we were going to be enjoying a good amount of peacetime, and we used that time to recover financially. Well, at this point, we have a pandemic far in the rearview mirror and levels of spending that have not gone down since that pandemic, and with no financial recovery in sight. and to be able to fund things like we just saw over the weekend of defending the free world in such an incredible fashion. We've got to have our finances in order so that we are well positioned to fund what we need to fund in the future, with or without major conflicts in the world. Just what do we need to do to make sure America is strong and free for our children and our children's children, and on a strong fiscal foundation.
Did every state agree? I mean, did every state, like, are they behind and with you, and if they're not, then what was the reasoning, I guess, or are you feeling like you're connecting with all of them?
So our first course of action was to put together a letter to be sent to Congress and President Trump, stating that as financial officers, we understand the gravity of the problem. The interest payment alone on the debt is greater than the entire annual budget for the United States military. Doesn't that just take your breath away?
Mm-hmm.
It's also greater than the annual budget for Medicare, and it will soon eclipse as the fastest growing line item in the federal budget, the annual cost for Social Security. So this is a serious problem as far as the interest payment alone, and we're not even talking about getting the debt to GDP ratio down. It is consuming. So we put together this letter that detailed out the severity of the problem, and then we asked three things of them. One, just spend less next fiscal year than you did in the one prior, right?
Mm-hmm.
Simple.
Right.
Not easy, but simple and absolutely necessary. And then number two, get us back to a balanced budget as soon as possible. In 2019, so before COVID, the federal budget was $4.5 trillion, and last year they brought in 4.9 in revenue. You don't have to go that far back in our history to see getting to a balanced budget is entirely possible.
Mm-hmm.
And then third, as we discussed just a little bit ago, put together a concrete plan for debt reduction. With the rolling back of regulations, with what's coming with the bill that they're working hard to pass as far as becoming not only energy independent, but energy dominant. Take that coming growth and use that to empower this plan. Focus funds toward restoring the country's fiscal solvency, cut spending, work toward paying down the debt, and grow our way out of it. Incredibly important.
And how was it received? I mean, is it received well? I mean, are people, I mean, I guess sometimes maybe, I can't even imagine, but trying to realize it's almost like you have to take baby steps, little bites, you can't eat the elephant all at once, little bites, and working on it every day to get it where you want it to be.
Absolutely. So this letter was well received. It was signed by 37 state financial officers
Awesome.
from 27 states, including the swing states of Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, and Wisconsin. So
Awesome.
That's pretty strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we are working on a follow-up letter here. ALEC, which is an association for state legislators. We have had a lot of talks. In fact, they invited me to speak at a couple of their conferences and gatherings about what state financial officers are doing on the national debt front. And now we are working on a joint letter to go again to every member of Congress and to President Trump. So you're going to have state legislators and state financial officers, and I believe we're going to even have some governors signing on to this letter. And it will deliver a strong message to Congress and President Trump that we support them 110% to restore the country's financial solvency. And I'm really looking forward to this letter hitting. I expect that to happen late summer, early fall. And then in addition, at the ALEC conference, which will be happening this summer in Indianapolis. They are looking at a resolution that our Indiana Senate passed, Senate Resolution 51. That, interesting story here. I was speaking to a good number of legislators this summer. They asked me to share about our National Debt Crisis Task Force of State Financial Officers. And after I shared what we're working on, they said, what can we do? And I said, you could pass a resolution modeled after our governor, Mike Braun, when he was a United States Senator in 2024, he brought forth U.S. Senate Resolution 600 that called out the national debt as the national security threat that it is, and called out deficit spending as unsustainable, reckless, and dangerous. And Rebecca and Angel, it was unanimously passed by Republicans and Democrats because they understand that both parties are responsible for where we're at with this fiscal crisis.
Right.
And that both parties are responsible for coming up with the solution to shore up America's fiscal independence. And so I said, you could pass a resolution modeled after the one passed at the federal level. And there were a couple of freshman senators, Senator Schmidt and Senator Clark, that ran with this idea as their own personal mission possible. And they got it heard, and it was overwhelmingly passed in the Indiana Senate with very similar language to the federal resolution. And their resolution is going to be presented at ALEC's conference this summer to be a model resolution. And I have a high degree of confidence that it'll pass to be that model. And then it will be pushed out to be passed in all 50 states. And that's going to be huge to, again, build this monumental support that needs to come from the states to speak to Congress and President Trump to let them know we support them, even in the tough decisions that this is going to mean, that this is public enemy number one. We've got to get our financial independence back because, next summer we'll celebrate the 250th anniversary of our country's independence. And we've really got to ask ourselves the direct question of how can we fully and truly celebrate our political independence when our fiscal independence is in grave jeopardy.
Right. What do you think that it will look when let's say that that it gets passed and it makes on further and we get the federal budget better and healthy. What do you think it will look for for citizens? How do you feel like that will we see a difference, or what do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Now this is going to take some time.
Right.
This amount of debt, it's $107,000 per man, woman, and child counted in the 2020 census. This debt load is massive. The debt per capita for Hoosiers of state debt is $186. So getting to the point where we are in a fiscally solid position, it's going to take a lot of effort.
Right.
It's going to take some sacrifice, but we've got to come together with that Rosie the Riveter kind of spirit that we had during World War II that said, we can do this, and we must do this for the sake of our kids and our kids' kids so that they don't go off the fiscal cliff.
Right.
It's one thing for a small country like Greece to go bankrupt. It's an entirely different situation for the largest national economy in the world. That's the beacon of freedom and opportunity to go bankrupt. We have got to, at all costs, avoid the dark age that would bring upon us as a world. We would lose the dollar as the reserve currency. Financial markets would lose confidence in the stability of the United States, and that would mean a halt to the buying of our bonds, which would mean a halt to funds coming down to the state level, to the local government, to individuals on Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. Okay, so these are things we want to avoid.
Right.
And we have got to roll up our sleeves and do the hard work now. And as I mentioned before, President Trump, we've seen the strength of his leadership, and he is the leader that can put our eyes on this public enemy and say, we've got to defeat it. And here's how we're going to do it. And let's come together, working with Congress, coming up with a plan, again, Republicans and Democrats identifying the solution and getting our country where we need to be for the sake of perpetuating our freedom for the next generation and beyond. This is the duty of our time.
Well, anything, worth doing takes time. And of course, this didn't happen overnight. So of course, it's not going to be undone overnight.
That is absolutely true. And I tell you a couple other bits of good news to share with you and your listeners here. Coming back to the Indiana front, again, it is really good to be a Hoosier, to be in a state that has done the hard work to turn itself around. And I really believe Indiana stands as a model for the federal government. So in addition to being in a strong fiscal position, we have taken the steps to end investments that our pension fund and our state deferred compensation fund had in any funds that touched Chinese entities or that focused on environmental, social, and governance priorities, which are typically left-leaning priorities over financial returns. And that is something as well to celebrate. We have really leaned into making sure that we are free from anything touching China, and that our pensioners and those involved in our deferred compensation program as a state, that their financial returns are prioritized over any political agenda.
Awesome.
There's so much to fight for our state, for faith, for family, for freedom, for fiscal responsibility, for supporting Trump's America First agenda, which, again, was incredible to see freedom fought for and defended over the weekend. It just is remarkable. There's always so much to fight for, right? To maintain free enterprise, the right to life, self-defense, religious liberty, and just honored to serve Hoosiers as state comptroller to do what our role is in defending these things within the duties of our office.
Yeah. Also, just on a side note here, I want to thank you. I think that you've been very available and accessible to the citizens of Indiana, constituents, and I think that tells a lot about just as a state elected official. I know you're busy. If you're not following Comptroller Nieshalla, you should, because you can see she is everywhere, all over the state. And so I think that being in that position, it's very admirable that you're very accessible to the people and you're willing to answer any of their questions. And I just want to commend you on that, because I think that's really nice to have, and the transparency just in that position that you're currently holding.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Now, I have a question. Let's go back, and I don't want to go too much, but with the COVID and everything that we had some years ago, did that put us in some bad situations, or did we, and did that kind of set us back 3 steps, or was that something that just kind of happened, and or some of our financial issues was that, I guess, on that? Hello? I hope we didn't lose her. Hello? Oh, we lost her. Well, maybe we'll get her back.
I'm going to talk about that.
Nobody wants to talk about that, right?
We don't want to relive that.
No.
Don't take us
But
back.
I would think that that
Don't take us back.
I believe that's her. Maybe. Okay. Is this the comptroller?
Yes, I'm not sure what happened. I'm here.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for calling back on my cell phone. Okay, what my question? We figured you just didn't want to talk about it. I
I want to talk about it.
Yeah, because we were trying to kind of talk about, like, let's go back, because it's only been a few years ago that we were going through all of the COVID,
Yes.
and everybody, we had low interest rates, unreal, but people were afraid to still buy during that time because everybody was nervous. Everybody was trying to, people lost their jobs, people lost money. There was all kinds that went on. And of course, then we also had, medical, there was a lot of medical expenses, a lot, just craziness. So did that take us 3 steps back, or talk about that, I guess?
Certainly. So let's just look at Indiana as a microcosm of what happened. And I'm speaking financially.
Mm-hmm.
In 2019 and the years preceding, the amount of federal dollars that we were receiving as a state was like 12, 13, 14 billion dollars. Then COVID came, and the money coming from the federal government shot up to $26.4 billion.
Wow.
And following, the amount of money coming from the feds has remained at an elevated level. We're talking 22, 23, 24 billion dollars. It has not come down significantly. And that shows the problem of, with this pandemic, again, far in the rear view mirror.
Yes.
Spending has not come down to pre-COVID levels where it's much more sustainable. So we are literally plundering our kids' and kids' future, pulling forward consumption for now, and putting this burden, and this ever-growing burden of about $1 trillion every 6 months, which, by the way, it took 205 years for our country to accumulate its first $1 trillion worth of debt. And now it's happening at the rate of $1 trillion every 6 months.
Oh.
Completely unsustainable.
Mm-hmm.
So, I remember serving on the council in Boone County and hearing that we were going to receive $13 million from the federal government. And I couldn't believe it. Just giving us $13 million. And I thought to myself, okay, how in the world are they doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, it's borrowing from the future. There was so much money put into circulation, and we're feeling the ramifications of that for sure with inflation and with the incredible amount of debt that's grown since COVID, and with higher interest rates. So it's all connected. And there was, again, so much fast money put into the United States and thus into the world. And we are seeing the consequences of that now. Yes, there are needs when you have a pandemic, but boy, it seems like it was a real,
Mm-hmm.
it was a time when too much money was spent on this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a hard hit for sure.
Mm-hmm. Especially because we were recovering, but the spending has just continued on.
Right. Well, I mean, how thankful we are for all of your hard work and your knowledge. And I love that you're just using every resource you possibly can. And I think diving in and just, and going full throttle, your family has to be very proud of you.
Oh, thank you. And, it is a full family effort when you serve in whatever capacity. So I'm very grateful for my family.
Absolutely. Well, and that's part of it. That's what, I guess behind a strong woman is a strong family, and that family support, keeps you going, and realizing that you want a better future for our state, but for the whole USA and for everyone.
That's right. It certainly is motivating to do what we all do, right? For our kids and our kids' kids.
Oh, the things we do for our children, right?
That's right.
So true. Well, I think Angel said it, and I have to, agree at 120%. I love your connection. I love your being so transparent, wanting to talk about it, and taking, questions, taking, ideas, and just growing on that. I think you're a shaker and mover, and you're making some great progress. And this isn't going to be overnight, but at least you're doing something, and you're doing something very valuable and important.
Well, thank you. And thank you for your partnership. Just getting the word out to this is huge. So thank you for that opportunity today. And thank you for being a part of keeping Indiana strong, fiscally responsible, and free. And I might add that we're getting ready to launch my campaign for state comptroller coming up.
That was my next question. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
And I'd be honored to earn the votes of the delegates in your area. It'll be through the state convention a year from now. And then very most hopefully serving as a Republican nominee to be on the general ballot in November of 2026, and would ask for the votes of your viewers. And I will do my absolute best and highest to continue serving Hoosiers with all my heart, mind, soul, and strength.
Right. Well, we can tell it. Your heart is right there, and and we appreciate you, and all that you do. Keep up the great work, and let's talk again. Come visit us, or either come down and visit us, or by phone, however it works best, and keep us in the know. We appreciate all your great knowledge and all of your hard work.
Well, thank you, and right back at the both of you.
Thank you.
All right. Let's have the best Monday ever, okay?
Sounds good. Take good care.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ah, how wonderful she is. Oh, there we go.
Yes, I was hoping she was going to explain at the very end, and she did it, about the process, because I know some people get confused about that.
Well, and I feel like listening to her, okay, it's like when you go to vote and you see her name on the ballot or see her office, it's nice to actually.
No, I meant like, because as far as it's a little more unique on how she's elected.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know that some people, when they go to vote, they don't know what a delegate does.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
So it was nice of her to explain that as well.
Yeah. Well, and that's one, a little more clarity on that. Yeah. So that's actually what we used to know as the auditor's office, but it's the comptroller's office now. So Comptroller Elise Nieshalla.
Mm-hmm.
So very, very sweet lady. So very good. All right. It is Monday, and actually going to be, again, I did speak a little bit earlier about it, but it's going to be very warm today. So remember, plenty of sunscreen, plenty of water, keep chugging that water, and breaks every so often. And the perfect temperature, 97.9 FM, 12:20 AM. All right. WSLM. All right. Let's talk about some other things today. Today's job applicants, what they want. Okay.
Job applicants, what they want.
What they want. Okay.
I can.
What do you think the number one things that an applicant would want, job applicant would want?
Steady pay.
Okay. Well, they're a little bit more needy. Okay. All right. They did the requirements in job listings may be out of control these days, but today's job applicants are making some major demands. Okay. A new survey asked today the workforce about non-negotiable perks they're looking for. And the most important stuff, okay, is health benefits and financial security. But they also want, number one, paid overtime is the top non-negotiable benefit. Paid overtime. 76% say that.
I guess, as in like hourly people, not salary people.
I guess so. Okay, number two, Paid sick leave is next. 75% say it's one of their requirements, paid sick leaves.
Wouldn't that go in with the benefits?
I would think so. Yeah. Number 3, comprehensive health insurance packages. Okay, I can see that.
Benefits.
Number 4, 401k retirement package. 67% said that. I think these are all. Okay.
I think there is one big umbrella of what's under the benefits, because these are all benefits.
Well,
health benefits.
They don't know that. I don't know. This is what they're saying. I guess maybe they want to make it a little more defined.
Detailed.
Number 5, comprehensive dental packages. Okay. Further down the list, there's a negotiable difference between men and women. Noticeable difference between men and women. I mean, we can see that better. Financial security is the top priority for men. 28% of men consider stock and investment options to be essential, compared to 22% of women. 20% of men say that financial planning and counseling is a must-have versus only 15% of women. Women, our priority supportive includes benefits, family needs, and workplace, the atmosphere that we're in. 36% of women say that comprehensive maternity and parenting leave are essential perks. 27% of men agree. 30% of women say programs and training are non-negotiable compared to.
20% of women agree for maternity leave and parental leave.
No, 36%.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold the phone.
Yeah, I know.
But still, 36%.
I know. You would think that would be a lot higher.
I'll just not touch that.
No one has higher standards than younger Gen Zers and millennial workers. 30% of Gen Zers professionals are seeking 4-day work days, comparable work-life balance, and being flexible. 18% of Gen Zers want fun rooms with games and ping pong and recreational activity. 17% of millennials consider nap rooms essential.
Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. You're at work.
Okay, hang on. This is real, okay?
Napping.
I know 20% of Gen Zers, 14% of millennials say they need pet-friendly offices.
I mean, if you're talking like a first responder or, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, but doctors, nurses, the ones that stay there and
like overnight. So let's say like an EMT or something, like you said, a fire department, or police. Yeah.
I also think though, doctors and nurses though too, they sometimes get held up. And, especially if they're trying to do that work family balance. And trying to be present and be all the things. So, maybe if it's a slow, or whatever, or if, slow night or slow morning, just a little cat nap, maybe. I don't know.
Well,
just so you're mentally prepared. You don't want, the people, that are completely exhausted and not, mentally prepared to work on and be there for somebody.
Yes. Well, I think that would be, but I don't think your normal jobs would be. Maybe, I don't know. Let's go play some ping pong.
We did have a ping pong table actually at our office, and which again, I guess this goes back to what profession you're doing.
Well, I guess also you could have a business meeting. You could talk business while you're playing ping pong.
You do get breaks and you do get lunch breaks. So in the event, that was very kind. Yes. In the event you want to put one, in a break room or something for your employees to maybe, I don't know, detox or get away for a second, reset.
Yes.
That might be, or maybe there's a team meeting and, team building and you guys are really competitive and you're going to play ping pong. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think that, I mean, yeah, I guess it depends on your work setting and what
Well,
you're doing.
I guess, and if you are, looking, for, if you are actually, I guess, putting in a job applicant, you could ask, for things. Not necessarily you're going to get them, but you could ask, I guess.
Some might be okay
Is
as
this
long as you're the one
doable?
that pays for it.
That's
so
right. Yeah. Put it in. You buy the
sure,
ping
yeah,
pong
go
table
right
for
ahead,
everybody.
Put one
Yeah.
in there.
Go right ahead. Okay, this is one more thing. We got to get this in today. Wearing the color green makes you less anxious.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Here's a full story. Okay. The study is how different colors can affect your mood and behavior. Remember, they did that with like red and yellow. That's why McDonald's is red and yellow, because of the bright colors and happiness. So now much of the evidence in this field, artists and interior designers have long known how important colors are about your mood. And I've always heard that, like your different rooms, like if you want a calm room, now this is what I've heard, like light blues. And then like, I think that's where like a lot of kitchens were yellows because they were bright and happy or something like that. I don't remember. Something like that. Okay. And like red brings out a different mood. For example, red, yellow, and orange are known as warm colors. They can evoke feelings of raging from warmth and being hostile.
Mm. So much for that red.
Rage goes boldly into the night. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Whereas purple, blue, and green are known as the cool colors, and they can make you feel calm, and they can make you calm to sadness. They can bring calm, but they can also bring sadness. According to the new color expert, one color stands above all of them, especially when you wear it. She said green is the primary color that balances the other three, red, yellow, and blue. If you're too stressed, it will calm you down. If you're down in the dumps, it will lift you up. It's calming color and love wearing it. And I love wearing it, she said. There's also some studies that show seeing the color green in the environment lowers your stress level. Like if you see a green space in a city, it can lower your blood pressure and heart rate. They said green tends to be soothing, so wearing green makes you feel more relaxed and less anxious. I'm over here in red. You're in white.
White, pink, and yellow.
That yellow's getting you. If that's true, New York Jet fans would like a word. It says, if that's true, New York Jets fans would like a word.
I don't get it. What does that mean?
I promise this is what it says. If that's true, New York Jets fans would like a word. Because of the New York Jets, are they
the green and white?
I can't remember what they are. I don't know. I was thinking.
No, because they're green. Is that why? That's very specific.
I know.
I mean, I forget the Green Bay Packers. I mean, like, what do you mean?
That's what I thought too. Yeah. I don't get it. I don't know. I thought they were blue. Why did I think that? I don't know. I don't know what their colors are.
No, they're green and white.
Are they?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I'm trying to figure out
why they picked them. I don't know.
Over the Green Bay Packers.
I don't know. I don't know.
Out of all the teams in the world.
Yeah.
In the United States.
Right.
New York Jets. Oh, somebody's a Jets fan and decided to write a story. It sounds like.
Yeah.
I'm going to go red and yellow. The McDonald's and Kansas City Chiefs. I really got it.
I love that. Yeah. Let's see. Not only is Texas not the largest state, but if you cut Alaska in half, Texas would be the third largest state. Fun facts for Monday. Okay. Are you ready?
What? Hang on.
She switched gears. I know. I don't know why they're sending me this stuff. Okay.
Hang on here. Largest state.
Okay. Not only is Texas not the largest state.
Okay. I think you forgot that.
No, I think I said it. I think you missed it. But if you cut Alaska in half, Texas would be the third largest state. Okay.
That is
Deep.
Okay.
Deep thoughts.
Very
Okay.
good.
The official animal of Scotland is unicorn. Don't you forget those unicorns. I don't know. I don't write this
That
stuff.
is not what
Okay.
I didn't have to be real.
Yeah. Okay. I guess not. Okay. Are you ready? Okay. Ghostbusters was originally written to feature a three-man team played by Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy. Oh my gosh. Stop right there. And John Belushi. But they rewrote the script after Belushi died.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I already kind of knew that. Kind of sort of knew that. All right. At the very first NBA game between Toronto Huskies and the New York Knickerbockers in 1946, anyone over 6'8" got in free. Maybe they were recruiting. Ha ha.
Oh.
So if you were that tall, you got in free, right?
Yep. I guess.
Okay. All right. The three guys who founded computers were initially planning on starting a chain of Mexican restaurants, but they decided to do the computer thing instead. Okay. Little random facts for Monday. Did you know? Does that make you feel any better? Any brighter?
I didn't know.
I know.
I don't
Is
know
that
if
anything you're
I
going to use
know.
at
I don't
supper
know
table tonight, right?
I don't know.
All right. Okay. Real quick. The Animal Rescue League of Iowa saved a lost chicken that was hanging out by the front door of a Buffalo Wild Wings last week. They joked that it was obviously had been confused, and it actually shows the chicken hanging out at Buffalo Wild Wings. I hope that chicken was taken to a beautiful farm and will live forever, right? Okay.
Yeah.
A study found plastic bag bans at grocery stores really can make a difference. Areas with bans or fees for bags see up to a 47% drop in the number of bags washing up on shorelines. We don't have that issue here necessarily.
No.
But for those that do, there we go. A potty mouth parrot in Massachusetts is in the news because it won't stop swearing, but a ton of people want him anyway. Someone surrendered him to an animal shelter, and he keeps dropping bad words. More than 50 people from all over the U.S. and Canada have filled out forms to adopt him.
Oh my goodness.
So,
not my cup of tea, but go people go.
Can you imagine? I mean, like if you were like having family or friends over or whatever, you were hosting something and you had that
mortified.
I would be. And your children, can you imagine?
No, it reminds me of a little bit of off the Flintstones.
Oh yeah.
And their bird, the talking bird that just says, well, he doesn't cuss.
Yeah, yeah. But can you imagine 50 people already wanting this bird? I mean, they obviously don't have small children.
I'm sure that if more people knew about it, more people would actually.
I imagine after the story comes out, I bet there'll be
highest bidder. Here we go.
Hang on, they'll be flocking to get the bird, right?
The highest bidder.
They could actually do that little fundraiser there, couldn't they? I guess.
Yeah. A little something.
Yeah, a little something to help the shelter out, right? Speaking of that, a little good segue. Don't forget, if you have old blankets, you have dog food, cat food, or kitty litter, or anything like that, cleaners that you would like to donate to the shelter right here locally, go right ahead and do that. There we go. And I'm going to do a Bob Barker. Don't forget to spay and neuter your pets, right? All right, it's time to get out of here. It's Monday. It's time to go. A great week, best week ever. Again, it's going to be hot. And I think it was it was so hot. Now, hang on. It's so hot. Angel, that's your cue to say, how hot is it? It's so hot
How hot is it?
I saw the bird actually blowing on the worm last night. It was so hot.
Oh.
Yesterday. But I'll be here all day.
Saw a bird blowing on the worm.
Yes, it was so hot. Oh, so funny. Okay, let's thank our sponsors.
Was a
If we
good one.
still have them. Also, we want to thank
Follow here for more of those fabulous jokes.
I'll be here all day. And some night. I can say it. Comptroller Elise Nieshalla for this wonderful program this morning. Thank you for joining us. That was fun. We'll have to talk again. And thank you, Angel Pali for Americans for Prosperity. You guys are rocking and socking. Always got something going, right?
That's right. Always.
And if somebody would like to know more about Americans for Prosperity,
yes, if they'd like to know, you can go to our website, americansforprosperity.org. You can contact us on any social media outlet, Americans for Prosperity Indiana. Just make sure you click on the Indiana page, or if you are in a different state, you can always click on one of our other state chapters. If you're interested in joining one of theirs, we're active and, in most of the states. So we'd love to have you, anything from the local, state to federal level. We've always got something going on. Or if there's something, you find interesting that you might think AFP wants to get involved in, just give us a shout out and we'll take a look into it.
All right. Wonderful. All right. Let's thank our sponsors.
All right. Let's thank Meadowview Healthcare, Walmart, Salem Crossing, Americans for Prosperity, Mama Rosa's, Fox Perley Wealth Management, Dr. Black's Eye Associates, Dr. Mindy Gunn, Marshall Monuments, McAllister Land Consulting, First Harrison Bank, the Louisville Bats, Schneck Hospital, Springs Valley Bank and Trust, and Temple & Temple.
All right. Let's have the best Monday ever.
Happy Monday.
Fridays from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for just $12.99. Choose from a wide variety of pizza, homemade soup, and a large salad bar with their favorite potato salad, slaw, and